Society tells women that silence in the body means emptiness, failure, emotional starvation. They teach you to fear your own quiet spaces, labeling them as deficits, holes that must be urgently filled. But what if they're wrong? What if that silence isn't emptiness at all, but the beginning of something far greater, something sacred? Carl Jung spoke of repressed energies always finding a new path. When the body pauses its outward pursuit, the energy once chasing superficial pleasures finally turns inward, seeking something deeper, something profound. In this silence, something whispers, an invitation to discover yourself beyond the surface games. This isn't deprivation, it's awakening. It's a silence that holds promise rather than absence, potential rather than emptiness. Women often find unexpected clarity and power in abstinence, not because they're losing something, but because they're reclaiming their essence from those who never valued it fully. You're not withdrawing, you're returning home to yourself. Your body is silent, not because it lacks, but because your soul is preparing to speak. In the quiet lies your greatest revelation. When you stop seeking validation through intimacy and affection, something profound begins to happen. Your soul finds its voice. Without distraction, it finally whispers clearly, softly, powerfully. This language is subtle, ancient, and deep. It's felt in heightened intuitions, vivid dreams, and powerful insights that burst forth unexpectedly. Jung would say you're tapping into the unconscious, a vast untouched ocean within. In this space, you encounter truths hidden behind distractions. You meet yourself, not the woman the world shaped, but the woman you've always been, beneath the layers of desire and expectation, the woman who is powerful in her solitude. It's not emptiness you're experiencing, it's fullness, a depth society rarely speaks of because it's too wild, too uncontrollable. This is why your silence frightens others. It signifies independence, strength, mystery. A woman no longer trading essence for moments of false connection becomes dangerous, unpredictable, powerful. You're learning the soul's language, and this language doesn't lie. When your soul speaks, the world listens, afraid. The silence of abstinence is not always comfortable. Jung called it meeting your shadow, the part of you that's been hidden, denied, repressed. It emerges in discomfort, anxiety, loneliness. You begin to feel out of place in familiar spaces, disconnected from old comforts. At first it feels unbearable. You wonder if you've made a mistake, if this solitude is punishment. But it's not. It's an initiation. This discomfort is the price of freedom, of truly seeing yourself clearly for the first time. You are no longer defined by external validation or desire. You're facing parts of yourself that were buried under roles and expectations. The shadow reveals itself in the discomfort, but it also carries your greatest strength. When embraced, it becomes your power. Jung taught that only by confronting our shadows can we truly heal. This pain isn't breaking you, it's breaking old patterns. Your shadow holds the key to your freedom. Your body, now silent, has become a temple. No longer a marketplace for superficial connections. It's a sacred space, reserved for truths, insights, and revelations. In abstinence, you're not withholding from the world. You're honoring yourself. You're building an inner sanctuary where your soul finally has room to breathe, to flourish, to thrive. Here you begin to discern between true intimacy and empty affection. Your worth isn't measured by how often you're desired, but by how deeply you can honor your own presence. In this sanctuary, your intuition sharpens. Your dreams speak loudly. Your inner voice becomes a clear, guiding force, no longer drowned out by external noise. Your temple isn't isolation. It's communion with the deepest parts of your being. It's here you remember who you truly are. This silence isn't empty. It's sacred ground. You are not withdrawing. You are entering your sacred temple. Jung called her the archetypal wild woman, the woman who lives beyond conventions, beyond roles, beyond the gaze of others. She awakens in silence, in solitude, and she carries ancestral wisdom within her bones. When your body pauses from intimacy, your wild nature reclaims itself. You reconnect with instincts buried beneath societal conditioning. You start trusting yourself again, beyond what you've been taught or told. This wildness isn't recklessness, it's deep intuition. It's knowing without proof, seeing beyond appearances, feeling truth instead of believing lies. Society fears this woman because she's unpredictable. She no longer trades essence for acceptance. Her silence isn't passive, it's powerful, it's intentional. The wild woman knows her value without applause. She loves herself fiercely, demanding authenticity in every encounter. Her presence becomes undeniable, her gaze unwavering, her energy unstoppable. When she awakens, everything superficial falls away. You haven't lost your passion. You've discovered something far more powerful. The wild woman doesn't follow. She becomes the path. Society conditions women to view abstinence as starvation, something unnatural, a void to fill immediately. It whispers that your worth diminishes without constant validation through desire. Yet the opposite is true. The silence of your body is not hunger. It is a sign you are transitioning from emotional starvation to spiritual abundance. Carl Jung spoke of this as a profound turning point, the shift from outer validation to inner nourishment. When your body pauses from seeking external affection, it naturally redirects inward, discovering a depth previously overlooked. This silence becomes fertile ground, where seeds of self-love finally find space to flourish. At first it feels like deprivation, unfamiliar, uncomfortable, confronting. But slowly, subtly, you notice something changing. A deeper knowing emerges, an intuitive confidence you never possessed before. You're no longer a vessel waiting to be filled by others. You've become the source of your own fulfillment. In abstinence, you learn that loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness is emptiness, seeking others. Solitude is fullness, celebrating itself. You're discovering the power of standing in your fullness, no longer dependent on someone else's gaze to feel complete. This silence is abundance, waiting to be claimed. Your emptiness was never hunger, it was sacred space. Your body's silence is unsettling, especially for those who've grown comfortable relying on your constant availability. They label your abstinence as coldness, distance, or worse, selfishness. They don't understand what your soul now deeply knows. This silence is not rejection. It's a refusal to compromise your truth. Jung taught that individuation, the journey towards wholeness, requires courage to stand alone, at least temporarily. Your soul demands authenticity, and superficial relationships no longer satisfy. Casual intimacy feels hollow. Easy affection feels dishonest. This journey can feel brutal because you must release relationships built on convenience rather than depth. Friends may question, family might not understand, and loneliness can appear suddenly harsh. Yet beneath this discomfort lies profound wisdom. Your soul refuses to settle for anything less than real. You realize love isn't about filling voids. Love thrives in authenticity, clarity, and integrity. It never asks you to shrink or compromise. Your silence is an uncompromising truth. Your soul has finally allowed you to speak clearly. You aren't cold or heartless. You're fiercely honest, guarding your sacred truth from compromise. When you honor your truth, your soul becomes unshakable. As your body remains silent, you're faced with an unsettling reflection, your own. The absence of external validation forces you to confront your hidden insecurities, deep-rooted fears, and uncomfortable truths. Jung described this as meeting the shadow, and this encounter is rarely pleasant. Suddenly, there's nowhere to hide. Without distraction, you're forced to see patterns you once blamed on others. You witness past decisions, failed relationships, and repetitive cycles clearly. It's painful, confronting, often overwhelming. Yet within this harsh reflection lies immense power. Recognizing these patterns means you're no longer trapped by them. Awareness is the first step toward liberation. It allows you to rewrite your narrative consciously. The mirror of silence can be cruel, but it is also incredibly kind. It forces honesty where deception once thrived. It replaces comfortable illusions with profound clarity. You aren't stuck. You're awakening. The discomfort isn't punishment. It's growth. Every painful truth you face today liberates you tomorrow. The shadow holds your deepest wounds, but also your greatest potential. This is your chance to reclaim yourself completely. The mirror that once terrified you now reveals your freedom. Every woman knows the pain of repeating the same emotional patterns, endlessly seeking validation or comfort in relationships that always end similarly. Jung would say you're repeating these patterns until they teach you what you need to learn. Abstinence breaks this cycle. It forces you to step back, to see clearly the emotional repetitions you've been trapped in. At first, the silence is unbearable. Loneliness feels oppressive. You're tempted by familiarity, drawn back toward old comforts even if they hurt. Yet within this quiet struggle lies an opportunity to finally choose differently. You're given space to question why you crave constant validation, why loneliness feels unbearable, why you repeatedly settle for less than you deserve. As you sit in this discomfort, clarity emerges. You begin to see your emotional repetitions not as curses, but as invitations to healing. You discover strength you didn't know existed, strength that refuses to repeat the same painful cycles. Breaking these patterns isn't easy, but it's necessary. It's your liberation. It's your opportunity to finally choose yourself above temporary comforts. You're not repeating history. You're rewriting it. In silence, old wounds ache differently. Memories resurface not as punishments, but as profound lessons. Every past heartbreak, disappointment, or loss returns. But this time, you see them through a different lens, one of wisdom. Carl Jung taught that what we deny in ourselves returns as fate. In your abstinence, you no longer deny these wounds. Instead, you face them head-on, finally seeing their true purpose, to guide you back to yourself. You realize your wounds were never intended to break you. They were meant to awaken you. They exposed vulnerabilities, taught resilience, showed you exactly what you deserve and what you must refuse. Now, in this quiet solitude, your wounds transform from burdens into wisdom. They become sacred scars, symbols of your strength and your growth. You're no longer defined by your past. You're empowered by it. The silence has given you space to heal deeply, completely, authentically. You're not broken. You're healed in ways you never imagined possible. Your wounds are no longer a source of shame. They are your story of becoming. Your greatest wound has become your deepest wisdom. Abstinence invites you to strip away illusions. It demands you look closely at the masks of love you've worn, roles you accepted, patterns you repeated, affection you mistook for intimacy. It reveals relationships built on convenience rather than connection, desire rather than depth. In this silence, Jung would say you're confronting your persona, the mask you present to the world. Without the distraction of another's desire, you see clearly how often you settled for superficial validation instead of genuine love. Initially, this revelation hurts. It feels like loss, regret, even grief. But beneath that pain lies liberation. You now know clearly what love is not, and therefore what it truly could be. Real love doesn't wear masks. It doesn't demand you change, shrink, or compromise your essence. It sees your authenticity as beautiful, your truth as sacred. Removing these masks is not about loneliness. It's about truth. It's about finally being seen for who you are, not who you pretend to be. You're no longer hiding. You're finally stepping into the open. Only without masks can love truly find you. As your body remains silent, you might feel invisible, as though stepping away from the game of desire has erased your presence. Society often equates visibility with desirability, leaving you to wonder if you still matter when no one is watching. Yet Jung teaches that true visibility is not about external validation. It's about inner recognition. You're not fading away, you're clarifying. The superficial gaze you lost was never truly seeing you anyway. This silence offers something rare, the opportunity to become fully visible to yourself. Without external distractions, you recognize your worth independent of anyone else's approval. Your invisibility isn't punishment, it's sacred solitude. In this space, you learn you don't need applause to exist powerfully. You don't need desire to validate your existence. The woman you're becoming is visible in her strength, in her clarity, in the unwavering truth of her presence. She's invisible only to those who never understood true worth anyway. You are not disappearing. You're finally becoming undeniable to yourself. Your true power is being visible to your own eyes first. The silence of abstinence isn't passive. It's intensely active beneath the surface. Jung described individuation as a metamorphosis, like the caterpillar entering a cocoon. To the outside, it appears inactive, but within, profound transformation is occurring. Your soul, too, is in a cocoon. The discomfort you feel, the loneliness, the temptation to return to familiar comforts, they're signs of a profound internal shift. You're not stagnating, you're transforming. This stage demands patience and courage because the old you is dissolving, making space for something entirely new. You can't rush this process, you must trust it. Yes, it feels dark and confining, but these conditions are necessary. Within this quiet darkness, you're preparing to emerge stronger, clearer, more authentic. Your silence isn't an end, it's the beginning of profound change. Your soul is actively shaping the woman you're becoming, even when you can't see it yet. You're not trapped in darkness, you're gestating greatness. Your quiet cocoon is preparing your wings. Your silence is powerful, while others view it as absence or emptiness. You understand it's a language of its own, ancient, wise, and sacred. Jung believed the unconscious communicates through silence, dreams, and subtle intuitions. Abstinence has taught you this language. Your soul speaks softly but with authority. Without external distraction, you become fluent in the whispers of intuition, the nudges of inner knowing, the wisdom carried in quiet moments. Silence becomes your guide, revealing truths hidden beneath the noise of daily life. You learn to listen deeply, not to others, but to yourself. You find clarity where confusion once thrived. This silent language can only be understood by those brave enough to trust it, to listen without distraction or interruption. It carries insights deeper than words, truths clearer than explanations. You no longer fear silence, you embrace it, knowing it holds your greatest wisdom. In your silence lies your greatest truth. Your journey into abstinence isn't merely physical, it's deeply symbolic. Jung described this stage as reconnecting with the feminine unconscious, a realm of profound intuitive wisdom, often buried beneath societal conditioning. In this silence you reclaim your intuition, your instincts, your ancestral wisdom. You reconnect with parts of your feminine essence long ignored, undervalued, or misunderstood. This isn't weakness, it's immense strength. As you journey inward, you realize your value is no longer measured by others' desire. Instead, your worth comes from a deep knowing of your own sacredness, intuition, and power. The feminine unconscious speaks through dreams, subtle feelings, and intuitive nudges you once dismissed. Now, you honor them as sacred messages guiding your path. You're learning to trust yourself again, not through validation, but through deep knowing. Your silence reconnects you with your feminine essence, empowering you in ways the external world cannot. This isn't retreat, it's return. It's a profound reunion with your deepest feminine strength. Your power lies in reclaiming what was once forgotten. The journey inward isn't always serene. When you step away from familiar forms of intimacy, the anguish of separation hits harder than expected. You might question your choice, wonder if the loneliness is worth it, and feel profoundly misunderstood. Jung recognized this anguish as an essential stage of transformation, an emotional test of endurance, clarity, and strength. It's not a sign you failed or lost your way. It's evidence that you're moving deeper into self-awareness. Society insists women must constantly seek connection, validation, and affection. When you defy this expectation, you become a threat, unpredictable and unknowable. People around you become uncomfortable, unable to recognize the woman you're becoming. Yet within this anguish lies immense wisdom. It forces you to confront fears you previously avoided, illusions you once accepted, and roles you no longer want to play. You're learning to rely solely on your inner strength, cultivating trust in your intuition rather than external validation. This anguish isn't punishment, it's initiation. Your soul is testing your resolve, preparing you for the depth of authentic love and profound self-acceptance. You're not abandoned. You're being reborn through separation. The pain of letting go is the birth pang of your true self. As you commit to abstinence, old patterns inevitably resurface. Temptations appear. Old lovers return. Familiar invitations promise comfort and ease. You're faced repeatedly with the choice to remain firm in your silence or slip back into comforting distractions. Jung taught that these temptations represent the ego's desperate attempt to maintain control. They test your commitment, challenging your resolve to truly transform. In moments of vulnerability, returning to familiarity feels appealing. Anything seems better than loneliness. Yet this is precisely when your soul's whispers grow strongest, reminding you that what you seek can't be found in the past. Every temptation is an invitation to choose yourself or abandon your growth. Your true strength emerges not by avoiding these tests, but by consciously overcoming them. When you reject easy comfort for deeper truths, something profound shifts within you. Temptations lose their power as you realize your solitude holds a richness far beyond temporary pleasures. You're no longer trapped by old comforts. You're freed by choosing yourself repeatedly. Temptations aren't setbacks. They're proof of your rising strength. Your body in abstinence is not passive. It's engaged in a sacred ritual. Modern society sees waiting as weakness or waste, something to escape quickly. But Jung recognized waiting as profound spiritual preparation, a conscious choice, not forced abstinence. This ritual demands patience, discipline, and trust. It's about holding sacred space for something true, genuine, and meaningful to emerge. Rather than rushing to fill emptiness, you embrace it, knowing emptiness is essential for deep transformation. Your silence is intentional, disciplined, and powerful. You're cultivating discernment, ensuring that when you choose connection again, it will align deeply with your truth. Waiting becomes a sacred act, a powerful affirmation of your worth. You realize your energy is precious, your intimacy sacred, not something to casually exchange. You're guarding your heart, preparing it to receive authentic love, not temporary distractions. This ritual isn't punishment, it's sacred preparation. It's your soul's way of ensuring that what comes next is worthy of your full presence. You're not waiting idly. You're preparing for sacred union. Your wait isn't emptiness, it's sacred preparation. People often misunderstand your abstinence as isolation. They believe you've withdrawn, closed off, disconnected from life. But what others see as isolation, you experience as profound immersion. Jung saw individuation as moving deeper inward, reconnecting with hidden aspects of your being. In your silence, you're immersing deeply into yourself, exploring layers previously ignored or silenced. It's not isolation, it's profound self-communion. You're discovering desires you never acknowledged, strengths you never imagined, dreams you'd long forgotten. You're immersing fully in your authenticity, unapologetically, reclaiming every part of yourself. To others, this process might look strange, solitary, even troubling. They see you retreating from life. You know you're diving into it more fully than ever before. You're not escaping connection. You're forging a deeper one, first with yourself, then ultimately with others who truly see you. Your immersion creates clarity, purpose, and strength that superficial interactions could never provide. You're not losing connection. You're creating authentic bonds. Isolation is an illusion. You're immersing in your true self. As your abstinence deepens, your soul's whispers become clearer, louder, undeniable. Jung described the feminine archetype, the anima, as a bridge between consciousness and deeper wisdom. This inner feminine voice, once drowned by societal noise, now guides you with profound clarity. Your intuition grows powerful. You sense truths before they surface, recognize falsehoods immediately, and trust your instincts like never before. The voice within, gentle yet firm, becomes your most reliable compass. This inner feminine knows your worth, demands authenticity, and refuses compromise. She no longer allows superficial connections, false promises, or meaningless relationships. You begin to trust her fully, recognizing her as your deepest ally. Your silence strengthens her voice, empowering her to speak your truth without hesitation. This inner voice becomes your strength, your clarity, your freedom. You know without doubt or fear that you're guided, protected, and supported in ways you never imagined possible. You're no longer seeking validation. You're embodying profound inner wisdom. Your inner feminine doesn't whisper anymore. She roars with truth. Your abstinence journey isn't about permanently rejecting intimacy. It's about redefining it. You're transitioning from a love born from hunger and need to one rooted in genuine authenticity. Jung saw this rebirth as the culmination of individuation, the point where love becomes not about filling emptiness, but about sharing abundance. Your silence has cleared space for something pure, profound, and authentic to emerge. Authentic love doesn't consume, it nourishes. It doesn't ask you to diminish yourself. It encourages you to flourish fully. This love won't feel like compromise. It will feel like liberation. Now you know the difference between passion that burns quickly and a connection that grows steadily. You know your worth, your boundaries, and your needs. You won't settle for less than deep, meaningful, respectful love. Your silence has taught you the true nature of intimacy, a connection so authentic that it amplifies rather than diminishes your essence. You haven't abandoned love. You've prepared your heart for its truest expression. Authentic love begins only after you've learned to love your silence. Stepping away from intimacy has allowed a new identity to emerge, one independent of roles and expectations. You're no longer defined by how much you're desired or needed. You're defined by how deeply you honor yourself. Jung described individuation as becoming whole, integrating all parts of yourself, including those previously silenced. Your silence has enabled this integration. You're discovering aspects of yourself that were hidden, suppressed, or overlooked. Your new identity is powerful, authentic, and uncompromising. You understand clearly your worth isn't determined externally. You carry your truth confidently, unapologetically, and without the need for constant validation. This new you is unsettling for others who prefer the woman they knew, the one who accommodated, sacrificed, and remained quiet. But you're no longer her. You've transformed, not by force, but through deep awareness. You're living proof that silence can birth strength, clarity, and authenticity. You're not lost. You're fully found, more clearly yourself than ever. Your new identity doesn't please everyone, and it's not meant to. Society conditions women to wait, to hope they'll be chosen, validated, and loved by others. But your silence has shifted this dynamic profoundly. You're no longer waiting for anyone to choose you. You're now choosing yourself first. This shift is radical. Jung described this moment as profoundly liberating, breaking free from societal conditioning that placed your worth in external validation. You've discovered you don't need another's gaze to confirm your value. Your silence has shown you that your worth isn't conditional. You no longer require anyone else to prove your desirability. Instead, you're selecting relationships consciously, intentionally, and without desperation. You're guided by clarity, not fear of being alone. Your silence has gifted you the strength to stand powerfully in your self-worth. You're no longer passively waiting. You're actively choosing. You're the author, not the character in someone else's story. This liberation is profound, lasting, and powerful. You're not waiting to be chosen. You're choosing who deserves you. There comes a point in your journey through abstinence when returning to old patterns becomes impossible. You've changed too deeply, grown too powerfully, seen too clearly. Jung described this as the point of no return in individuation. Your soul, having awakened fully, will never accept less again. You cannot unlearn the truths your silence revealed, nor pretend your boundaries aren't sacred. You're now the woman who demands authenticity, depth, and respect in every relationship. You no longer accept affection without clarity, intimacy without intention, love without integrity. This can feel isolating initially, yet profoundly empowering. You realize clearly you haven't lost anything worth keeping. Everything superficial, temporary, or unworthy naturally falls away, leaving only what's real. Your silence has transformed you irrevocably. You're no longer available for shallow connections or half-hearted love. Your standards are high and unapologetically so. You cannot return to the woman who once accepted less. The woman you've become never compromises her worth again. Finally, you understand, your silence was never about absence. It was always about awakening. Your soul has whispered truths, and you've learned to listen deeply. This journey through abstinence transformed you profoundly. You've confronted shadows, broken cycles, and reclaimed your feminine wisdom. You've emerged clearer, stronger, and undeniably yourself. Now your relationships, romantic or otherwise, are no longer distractions, but sacred connections chosen consciously. Your silence, once misunderstood, is now your greatest strength. It's proof that you have the courage to prioritize your soul above societal expectation. Your awakening has just begun. You're not retreating. You're stepping forward with clarity and purpose. Your voice, strengthened by silence, resonates deeply. You now know clearly, true love begins within. It grows from abundance, not need. Your silence was never punishment. It was your soul's deepest liberation. This truth changes everything. You're ready to step into the world, not as someone seeking validation, but as a woman who embodies her worth fully, undeniably, and powerfully. Your soul has whispered, you're now ready to roar.